This is my review of Solo Leveling Episode 2. I wanted to touch on this brief second because I also read the webtoon along with watching the anime, which the anime, you guys, is hands down. It's incredible. It's amazing, the animation and everything like that, and I'm going to get into that. But first, I want to touch on this brief second. So if you haven't watched Episode 2, highly recommend this, or if you haven't read the webtoon, also recommend not watching this either. With that out of the way, there's a section within the scene where Jinwoo's walking out against the tiger guy as well, too, and he's like, "Please wait, may I have a word with you?" He's like, he pushes him off. He's like, whatever, like, it is, ask the guild. It's an order. Is that even a threat? And you get like the little look in the eyes within both of them. And they're just like, don't even threaten me right now. He's like, sorry, like, that was rude. Are you right? And it's just like, Miss Park, yes. And it's just like, what's wrong with that guy? And she says something. It's just like, why did he seem so mad? And she's like, I don't know either. And that's the part that I want to talk about because, like, within the webtoon, and I know I said that that's the part that I want to talk about. I seem to do that. I can stop doing that as well, too, for you guys if you want. So it's just like, Miss Park, yes. What's the matter with him? Why is he in such a foul mood? And she's like, I don't know. He's been like that ever since he defeated the boss and shouted something 3 times in front of the corpse. And I'm sorry. Like, that's the part that it's just like 3 times in front of the corpse, but we don't actually see that because within the anime, what we end up seeing is we get this scene where he just ends up coming through and talking and saying the things that he wanted to say. It's just like, only the stuff looks good because there was a big gap between him and me. I wonder if that's what ended up happening. So it's like 3 attempts failed. But like, we don't ever get to see this within the webtoon. Like, all we get is this other scene, this other section where it's just like, maybe our difference in strength was too great. You have failed 3 times. The shadow can no longer be extracted. Dang it. So like, we do get that small little section, but it's just like, what a shame. There's nothing that can be done through that. Which that got me thinking because you do also get to see the dagger here as well too. So I'm glad I was able to at least obtain this weapon, which the weapon is great for him. But that got me thinking. It's just like, because within the anime too, you also see this section, and I did get a little bit of like backstory on this about how like you don't want to have, like, if you haven't watched the anime or read the webtoon, don't watch any further at this point moving forward, just because there are going to be a little bit of spoilers, some theories, some ideas that I have. So it's like, this was when the ice demons end up coming up and talking, and it's just like, we're outnumbered, and it's like, is that the boss? And he ends up going on this whole like, try it, is this something useful? What did you say? Are you saying that we're all trash? Yada yada yada. Kid can understand our language, which he's like, I didn't know I could understand that. Even within the webtoon as well too, there's a section within the paragraph or within the page where like he is talking, like it does go without like the subtitles. So it's just like, I guess you can understand that. So it's just like, is that so? If that's so, would be perfect. This guy told me there's an expert among the humans. He wanted to compete with you, and just watching this shit, like when he just comes up and just takes the dude's head off, he's like, oh, okay, well, that's a case right there. But the section that I wanted to talk about is, I don't know why it's not here. So you can't hide your strong presence. So they end up showing themselves. These are the ice. We're outnumbered. But he ends up saying that same thing. So it's like, why did you say, can't understand my language? Told me you're an expert. Interesting. He ends up fighting the guy. We are clearly... So here we go. So that being said, it's getting more interesting. That being said, you're clearly not human. Why are you mingling among humans? And he's just like, wait, what? What do you mean I'm not human? Like, clearly he looks human, but he doesn't know what's inside of him. If you know what's inside of him, as I know what's inside of him, then you get what I'm talking about right there. But if you don't, then no worries. That's why he's kind of thrown back, and why he's like, what are you talking about? You don't even know who you are. And obviously a lot of us don't even know who we are. But that's why the ice elves say, like, we keep hearing a voice. It tells us to kill humans, but when facing you, I can't hear it. And he's like, hear a voice? What do you mean? Like, you can hear a voice. Is it something similar to system commands? He can't hear anything when facing me. Is it because I've become a player? There's no need for us to fight. Let's have the best of both worlds. Hand over the humans behind you and we'll spare your life. What do you think? How do you find this proposal? Who are you? Yada, yada, yada. Why do you fight humans? We are, hand over the humans behind you. Like, as soon as he asks that question, it's like, we are. So there's a little glitch within the system, as you can see right here. So like, who are you? And then why do we fight humans? And like, if you look, we are right here. So like, there's a little glitch, like the system paused, and then he ends up going back and saying the same thing over and over again. Maybe this has happened in your life as well too, where there's like a deja vu moment. So, and that's why Jinwoo, he's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, and we'll spare your life. Like he was very confused on what just happened right there. So it's as if he's getting closer to the true purpose of the system, the true reason why he got chosen, which we don't discover that for many more episodes later because there's many more chapters within the webtoon. So it's just a small little seed that gets planted within this series, within the episode, that made me want to keep watching, and maybe we'll also want to keep you watching as well too. So it's like, what do you guys think? How do you find that proposal? And just like, you're going to accept it, right? And he's like, I refuse. For the record, you're outnumbered. Dude, just a small smirk that he has on his face when he says that. It's like, I beg your pardon. And dude, the music, the score, I can't play it right now because it gets copyrighted. But like, even me showing this too probably gets copyrighted nonetheless. But other than that, like, you get to see this whole evolution of things come up. And it's like, what is this? There's monsters, black soldiers, and black ice bears. What did Mr. Sung do the summoning then? It's like a death struggle. Is that so? So they both end up going in a full-out war, which is incredible to see. The other guys are like, yep, we run out. They're trying to figure out like if this is actually something that is truly happening. The anime with the webtoon is something special. Watching their whole fight is incredible, which I did make a little video on the second channel. I'll link that at the end of this video as well too, where it's titled something along the lines of like only inside the red gate or something like that, but that'll be linked that you can check out if you just want to watch that. I don't even know if it'll be up either because it might have some copyright stuff, but I figured I'll toss it out there. He ends up telling him his name. They end up going through this whole battle, this whole fight, which I'm not going to show that right now because at first I want to talk about how like Sung Woo, Jen Woo, has like just his whole demeanor has changed in just the 2 months that he's been around. So he's like, as soon as he says rise with all this, the bears and everything that comes up, and he says those words, and he's just like, wow, that's impressive. Like, his whole demeanor has changed. And this was the guy that I talked about in the last episode as well, where he was talking about, like, he's getting all upset and angry and frustrated about, like, how everybody else has these warm clothes and everybody else had ended up dying. But, like, that's what his arrogance ended up doing for him. And I myself have had some arrogance in my life, but it's just, like, I've also been strong. But, like, there's also always going to be somebody stronger coming up. And I do have a different series that I'm probably going to be doing for each and every single one of you as well, too. So you can always subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed at this point in time. So it's just like, Sung Woo knows that he won't be able to defeat the King Ice Elf, because if we know anything from the webtoon, and this is one of those spoiler aspects, so like if you want to skip forward maybe 10-15 seconds or so, I would say this is one of those scenes where it's just like he's not really like part, at least from what I was able to gather from reading the webtoon and what I've been able to pick up so far, is this elf guy, he's not just like another like monster. He's one of the, I believe it's the top 7 like warlords or something along those lines that decided to come in to be able to improve or increase the world in some way. It's like why Jin Woo has the person within him, how he can use the Shadow Army is because he is one of the gods, one of the 7 gods. I believe it's 7. If I'm wrong with that, correct me down in the description down below, please, or in the comments section. And if you want to tear me apart as well. I don't really do whatever you want to do down in the comments section. It's great. I need strong combat powers. So, but like basically he's one of the gods and Jinwoo is also one of the gods, but he had to level up to be able to hold the god power where like he's already the god power. So that's why he knows that he can't defeat Icarus, like defeat the Ice Elf. Even with Icarus, he still needs a stronger power, which is where they end up going through this whole battle. They find out that he can't do anything. The other guy comes in and he even betrays him, which this whole scene, like when he gets his powers, and this is where I was saying, like this guy becomes a problem a little bit later, and you kind of do get to see that as well. I might be off by 1 chapter on the webtoon, which it kind of looks like I am. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, more gentlemen than ladies, so we're going to go back a page, and we're going to see how you get to see the exact same thing, like within this scene. So it's like, choose the name for your soldier, which he does. So it's like, Kim Jol, now you're a tank, so from now on you will be called Iron. And it's like Iron is number 1, and don't get distracted now. And that's when the Ice Elf ends up coming back and like trying to defeat him. It's like, of course not, would never even think about doing that. And this is where like within the manga or with the anime, it doesn't show this part, but what it is like his skill is Shout of Provocation. And I don't recall seeing it within the anime, but that's why like within here you get to see that this whole section, capable arising, you get to see this whole thing within as well too, of like him being able to get the soldier outside of like the one guy that did end up rushing at him because he was upset and frustrated. But this is a scene where even from today you'll be called Iron, and he ends up screaming like his roar of provocation. So that's why the Ice Elf ends up going towards him and not towards Jinwoo or Icarus. and that's why you get to see the red eyes, but like we don't get to see that as the audience within the anime. So like if you were just watching the anime and you didn't know what was happening, you'd be like, well, why is this guy able to just like, why does he have red eyes? Like, what's this power? But like within the webtoon, when you read it, you understand that that's the power of Iron. Like that's his whole shtick. So like if you're able to see that, then that's why you understand why the Ice Elf is going and attacking him more than like Icarus or Jinwoo. And that's why as soon as he ends up screaming back, he ends up coming back to be able to fight him, to be able to provoke the Ice Elf so that they end up coming, so that Icarus can do the work and Jinwoo can like stab him and do the things that he needs to do. And it's like, but if you don't die, it's already an issue. Him finally using like the pullback tool, which he ended up doing the first, I think episode 12, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, when he found out that like that's what Icarus's power was, to be able to call back his weapons and seeing the whole like event just come down together. And it's just like, I'm not going to kill you. And then he uses his invisible power, which the Ice Elves also had, but he's like, it's not over yet. And he's like, it always has been, because he gets smashed. And then it's just, you get to see the level ups and the notifications that he ends up having. So it's like, finally defeated him. And he's like, whoo. Like, dude, when this happens, when like Iron's just beating the pulp out of him, he's like, what? And that's where I say, like, within the webtoon as well. So if we come back to over here, within here, you see the little fight go down. The opponent restriction is too high of effect and can't be canceled. And this probably isn't the best time for you to complain. Take a look around. Everything's already been defeated. He lost all of his enemies, like all of his soldiers. He ends up doing the last little bite, swinging it back, which is pretty cool. You get to see all those things. They end up coming through. Iron ends up grabbing him, which I feel like Iron's a lot bigger in the webtoon than he is in the anime. They end up throwing the ice ball that I was talking about. He's like, you bastards, and then he does end up still getting like stabbed by Jinwoo. The animation's a little bit different because it has to be stills within the webtoon, but it's still pretty sweet. Looks like it's over. He ends up grabbing, who do you think I am? I'm not done yet. He tries like grabbing him and doing the thing, but that's when he ends up coming through Iron and ends up smashing. So it's like, see, I told you, and it's over. And that's where it ends, is you have defeated, level up. The way that they do it there compared to where they do it in like the anime is a bit different, because all we get to see is like this section compared to this section, where it's just like you have defeated the boss of the dungeon, level up, and Jin was like, that was a close one. And Icarus or Iron just keeps going and bashing through. He's still stupid even as a shadow, and it's just like stare. And you get to see the same thing here, where he's just smashing, and it's like, so it's basically the same, but like you don't get the animators, I guess, decided to just have Jinwoo in this scene instead of just like his finger within the anime. So it's a little bit different right there as well. And it's like, cut it out. Geez, he's going to be a pain in the butt, which you get to see that here too. Don't go too far when they do zoom out. And it's just like, I'm worried about your future. But he says like, geez, he's going to be a pain in the butt. So it's a little bit different there. He ends up turning to Icarus, but in this scene, as you can see, like Iron's on the left, whereas like Icarus is on the right, whereas in like the anime, Icarus is on the left and Iron is on the right, and he looks at him, they both look away. he does his little, and then he walks off screen, just as you see here as well, turns around, does the exact same thing with the other people, but it's also, it's reversed from like the anime and versus the webtoon. The other guys, they start cheering when they start cheering, so it's pretty cool. But in here, it's more of the Iron Soldiers compared to here, it's more of the Wizards, because the Wizards were the ones that ended up casting the shadow in the first place. So it's cool being able to see like the little like comparisons and how they ended up changing the webtoon versus keeping the webtoon and the manga the same, because they end up leaving, they end up going through, everybody's like a sigh of relief, Portal ends up coming back, and they end up coming through and doing the things that they ended up wanting to do. I'm just impressed, dude, like with this whole anime. It's really cool. It's really impressive, like seeing how the animators were able to create the animation from the webtoon and turn it into like an actual live form. But if you want to read the webtoon, highly recommend doing it as well too. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was really something that was special to me, because being able to like pick it up and seeing the story and how Jinwoo is able to level up in the ways that he has, because I believe that we can all do the exact same things as the people that we are. Like if you're somewhere where you are right now and you want to train, or you want to work hard, or you want to achieve something in your life, you can achieve it in the same way that Jinwoo has, because everybody used to think of him so little, especially in like episode 1, like he was just a small little nerdy dude, whereas like as he's gotten stronger, now he can stand up to like an S rank hunter, which he wasn't able to do beforehand, and just give him a single like look within his eyes and be like, yo bro, like you better back the fuck off. Like, I was the one that saved the people, and like I have a whole army like within me right now that you don't even know that exists. So like tread lightly if that is something that you want to do. They end up going through the whole spiel of whatever they end up talking about, yada, yada, yada here. They end up going home, coming through this whole thing. And then there's this scene as well too at the end that I probably should have grabbed as well too, but I figure I'll touch on it right now just while we're here. So right in the end when Jinwoo ends up coming back and being like, hey, we'll pick it up. He does also talk about like how this is a third person that he ended up having to kill, which that wasn't something that he wanted to do. It just wasn't. Like, I mean, imagine you there, but it was just like he needed another A-rank hunter and somebody else that could help him defeat the enemy, so he had to plan this whole thing out. And sometimes, like, it's the third time already. Sometimes you have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do to be able to become stronger in the ways that you want to become strong in. So this is the little guy that if you aren't aware, like he's his little like helper friend basically, because he was in one of the dungeons where Jinwoo ended up saving him and seeing his whole power is why that other guy, which I didn't talk about in this episode, was there and why he wants to take out Jinwoo. You can read the manga or you can just watch the anime if you haven't watched that already. This little girl, she ends up coming back, and I say little girl, which she doesn't even look like a little girl. It's kind of messed up with how things are. And she and him end up going through this whole spiel. This is where he thinks his whole perspective is like, I couldn't sleep at all. They think that they ended up sleeping together and that she's a child, which she is a child. So it's like, yeah, go home. You two spent the night together. He ends up freaking out. You take a nap, I'll wake you up. Thank you, boss. And she's like, Miss Han is underage. And that's where Jin was just like, so? Because he's not thinking what the other guy's thinking. And that's why he gets all like freaked out of like, nothing, don't worry about it. But this is what happens within our minds. And this is for the people, the OGs of the channel. Like, this is something that I need you to realize and recognize, because you already have, but anybody that's new, that's made it to this point, this is something that just keep in mind. What you think is going to be completely different, because when he says like, yeah, she's underage, and that's where he's just like, so, because he's not doing anything with her, whereas he thinks that he would be doing something with her, because maybe if he was in his shoes, then he would be doing something with the other girl, and that's why he doesn't end up like going any further with that said thing. And that does end up happening in the manga as well too, or the webtoon, manga webtoon. I feel like they're kind of one of the same, but I know one's more Korean and one's like Japanese. I was going to pick you up today. Well, you're the one helping me out, sir, so I wouldn't want to have you. So I was like, let's go. They end up going and talking about these things, but apparently I forgot that she's not even in this. So USI didn't well, I guess she is. That's her. Not only does he know her number, but he's also nice to her. Are they in a relationship? And I get why they had to cut this subsection out as well too, instead of them just being at the exact same place. So we've arrived. Should I call on you? No, she's just a friend of my little sister's. Hello, Jinwoo. She also has a different outfit. So like she had different hair color too, if you look at that. So like she's more like white-ish in this scene. So she has white, blue pants, and here she had green, white t-shirt, blue pants still. But just a little bit of a different change. And then she's like, this is where he ends up freaking out again. No, not at all. You must be tired of getting all the sleep in the car. How about you, Jinwoo? I only got to take a quick nap. It was really here, right? Each other, she couldn't speak. All the thoughts in his head, they're tired. And he got home from 4 in the morning, but he just said he's just a sister's friend. Sir, what's up? Is not of legal age. And he's just like, your point? Never mind. He's not your average guy, that's for sure. I shouldn't judge him by my standards. And that's what I was saying. Like, it's his standards within this section. It's like his standards of him thinking that this is the case for Jinwoo and for the people that he's together, because everybody has their own standards, but he is also just like helping her out because he doesn't want her to end up dying. So, big takeaways, Jinwoo's a fucking badass, to say the least. Like, he just goes out, destroys all the enemies that are standing within his way. The webtoon and the manga aren't necessarily always the same, which is perfectly fine. And then at the end of the day, you can subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. I'm most likely going to be doing Muscles and Magic. I don't know if you've watched that on Netflix at all. I'm also going to be picking up the Dan videos as well too, because I have a couple more of those. I figure that's going to be the plan for this month. If you have any other ideas or suggestions, or I know I said I was going to do Demon Slayer for one of you, which I just haven't felt like doing Demon Slayer in all honesty. I'm going to be completely transparent with you. Maybe one day I'll get around to it, but it just hasn't been calling to me as some of these other animes have been. So with all of that, get out of the way. If you haven't made it to the end of the video, do appreciate you, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.